What's going on, everybody, man? Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Pitts, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live yet again, once again, through the eye of the Tiger. And of course, we got Tiger here with us, man, aka Coach Bernard Clark Jr. It's going down. Robert Morris University football. What's going on, Coach?
Not much, man. Not much. Just feeling a little better than I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Hey, they stacking.
They did.
One by one.
Yeah, they trying to do something. They played hard, man. Young man went down and went up to Massachusetts, and they played well. You know, they started fast, played physical, and they finished. You know, that's the most important part. They finished.
One by one. One game at a time.
That's all you can do. Like I said, like eating an elephant. You only take it one bite at a time, not one big gulp. So we're good.
Take us through. Take us through the game. Tell us how, what transpired. And, we apologize. We wasn't able to connect with you guys on Saturday. Saturday was a homecoming game that I was covering. And
absolutely.
So, yeah.
Now, you have work to do. Don't worry about it. It's one of those situations. Well, like I said, the game started fast. It's probably the first time we had to go out on offense first. I think probably since no, it wasn't even Merrimack. I can't remember. That may have been our last game against West Lib. And so we went out there, went on offense first. They kicked it off to us. Offense drove right down the field, punching in the end zone. So we went ahead, 7-0 real quick, and they did a good job of coming back. The young men fought back. But the thing is, it's like a tale of two halves. In the first half, our defense literally gave up 150 yards rushing. And in the second half, that's first half. And in the second half, they gave up like minus 38 yards rushing. So it's one of those crazy things.
Excuse the language. This is an adult show. Somebody got in their ass. Somebody got in their ass.
It was just a matter of helping them understand that we weren't playing the way we were capable of playing. We made a lot of mistakes. Probably a lot of MAs in the first half, just not fitting where we're supposed to fit. But like I said, defensively, they came out the second half. They started putting pressure on the quarterback. Coach was calling some good plays. Some things worked out. And the offense clicked. We had 2 turnovers. And in the first half, we overcame those turnovers. So like I said, those guys did a great job of starting fast, playing physical, but most importantly, they finished. We went for it on 4th and 2. We had to. We were down by, I think, 4. So we had to go for it on 4th and 2. I think it was like 10 minutes or 9 minutes, something like that left. We were going to dump it off to the running back in the flat. Our tight end did a great job of beating the linebacker one-on-one, and Zach put it on him in the end zone, and Rich caught the ball, and we went up by 3. We went up by 2, and then we kicked the extra point, went up by 3. So our guys were on point, and the defense went out there and did what they needed to do to stop and turn the ball around. And on 4th down, they had to throw it away. So it was good deal.
Not only that, man, when you just talk about from when we started. And we talk about the continuity between, not only just having a new coaching staff and 50-plus new players, and, basically essentially 3 to 4 new offensive linemen, in addition to, on both sides of the ball, sometimes it takes that gel to gel a little bit faster. And, there have been moments where, it still could have gelled, even though the continuity may not have been to where you wanted to be. But at the end of the day, the way that they're playing now, some of our wows, we talked about discipline. We talked about distractions. We talked about finish. We talked about mentality. We talked about collaborating. And all of those things are seemingly taking place, now. And I'm not saying they're taking place now. They've always had their peaks and valleys when they showed. It just wasn't showing collectively across the board with everyone, as you has been alluding to.
Well, the good thing about what you and I talk about each week, they're playing complementary football. Even when the offense turned it over, it wasn't like our defense went out there and gave up a touchdown. They went out there and they gave up a field goal. Or, they went out there and they played hard. They fought through it. They didn't get disappointed. You know, when
Yeah.
we had a chance to make field goals, Jason's doing a good job. He putting them through the uprights. We're blocking and protecting the way we need to on field goals, get them through the uprights, giving us a little more morale. On field position, we had a good job. We end up, they had a high snap on one of their punts. You know, our guy came off the edge tackle for a loss. We had an opportunity to go up. You know, we only made 3 off of it, but we made 3 as opposed to getting nothing. So we're playing good complementary football. These guys are playing well together. They're getting after it, and they're enjoying what's going on right now. They're loving the fruits of their labor is probably the best way to put it. So I'm hoping these guys continue to just play hard. Practice this week ain't been the way I wanted, but you know we're still going in the right direction. Still going right. The effort's always going to be there. The energy's always going to be there. It's just a matter of taking those mistakes out of the way.
Hey man, listen, I ain't gonna hold you. The last 2 weeks, you know, you said practice ain't been where you wanted, and seemingly at the end of the week, we walking away with W. So let's go, guys. Keep that practice not being where Coach wanted.
and that's probably the thing about it, man. You know, when you win, the thing that probably gets hit first are the small things, the little things,
Yeah.
not doing this properly, not putting the foot here, not putting the hand here. So you got to make sure you're staying on top of those little things. They become extremely important. Things like cleaning up the locker room. You know, now you're excited. Now you ain't taking care of the locker room where you're supposed to take care of the locker room. So now I got to get on about taking care of the locker room. So like you said, it's the little things, but they also jump into big things. So as a coach, you're looking at it like, we're not doing the little things the way we need to do them in order to win football games. So those things become extremely important. So I want to make sure we stay on top of them about the little things. You know, even if it's scout team, hey, guys, you didn't run the play the way it's supposed to be run. Look at the card. Make sure you pay attention to the card. So all those things become extremely crucial when you're trying to win football games.
Offensive player of the week for the conference was running back.
Yeah, man, my man Shine.
Talk about Shine and you know, because for the last couple of weeks, you know, definitely been, you know, ramping it up and what you've been looking for and expecting out of your running back. You know, and you were saying, you've been saying, I'm, you know, waiting for that one. You know, we got a collective group, you know, but we waiting for that one. You know, you can't just talk about his contributions of late, the last couple of weeks, and particularly this week.
Well, the positive thing about Shine, and I tell people all the time, he's one of those running backs. He's not going to break a 50-yard run for you, but he's going to get 4 or 5 yards every time you're handing the ball. And sometimes that's even better because you're still moving those chains, and that's the most important thing is moving those chains. And he's doing a great job of moving those chains. And Dante Wack, second team guy is doing a good job of relieving him. We need to relieve him. And every now and then we're throwing Owen McGraw, we're throwing Taj Daiches, and we'll get those guys out there, and they'll do a great job of playing hard and playing together. So, but Ethan's doing a good job of averaging 4 or 5 yards a pop last week, and the same thing the week before that. So he understands his role. He's doing a good job of running his role, and Zach's doing a great job of just being that general that we need on the field when it comes to offense. You know, he's making the plays he needs to make. Like I said, and we're overcoming mistakes, overcoming turnovers, making sure we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely. You know, we last week, you know, victorious. This week, you know, you've already said that you're not, you know, practice isn't what you wanted, which is MacBook Plus. You know, practice isn't what you wanted. However, you know, let's go ahead and chop into this week against Wagner. You know, what's our word of the week this week?
Our word of the week this week, because again, for the last 2 weeks, it's been learning. You know, it was learning. The next was progression this past week, and we've been learning. We've been progressing. And the word this week, I want to make sure laurels. I want to make sure they're not resting on their laurels. I don't want them to be satisfied with what's going on. We got to continue to get better. We got to continue to progress. So let's not rest on our laurels this week, guys. Let's make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. I said the word in the team meeting. I said the word is laurels. They were like, Coach, what's that? How you spell it? So I had to explain to them.
Laurels, right?
And I had to explain to them, I don't want you to rest on your laurels, guys. You can't be satisfied with what's going on. You got to continue to get better. So let's make sure we understand it ain't good enough to win the last 2 weeks. We got to make sure we put ourselves in position to win this week. So we don't want to rest on our laurels.
Can't get complacent on the victories that's in our rear view at this point. Got to look 100%. Forward to the next opponent, and that's just what it is. The next opponent, last week's success, the weeks before that success doesn't mean that it's going to translate to success this week.
Exactly. I needed you in the meeting with me, Pitch, standing right beside me to translate exactly what I'm talking about so they can get an idea that somebody knows what's going on. So, no, and that's the word. You know, that's the word. I want to make sure these guys understand that. We can't be satisfied, like you said, with what we did. We got to make sure we're putting ourselves in position to continue to do what we're doing.
And what are some ways that, you know, you as a coach can make sure that the team, or is there ways that you can see if you feel the team is being complacent or resting on their laurels by way of practice or preparation? You know, is there any way that you can detect if they're resting on their laurels?
Well, to me, it's kind of how they're doing the little things. Like I said, I go back to like if we had like today we had a ton of false starts and some offsides. See, to me, right there, that's not being focused. See,
Mm-hmm.
right now you're not being focused on the things you need to be focused on. And you're like, well, I'll correct it in the game. No, you're not going to correct it in the game.
Yeah.
We're gonna correct it right now. So we got to make sure we stay on top of when it comes to things like that. So when you start doing those little things like, or you see a receiver, he ain't running the depth at 5 yards, he's running at 4. So it's the little things that you got to make sure you're taking care of. But more importantly, it's how scout teams being run. When you got the scout team guys out there, they got to make sure they're still going full speed. They're still giving an unbelievable look for the offense, for the defense, and make sure we're doing the things we need to do. So those things become extremely important. You pay a lot more attention to those things when success starts, to make sure the guys aren't letting the little things slip.
I mean, iron sharpens iron, and one thing with
Yes.
the scout team, is that I think there's a bad misconception about it is that being on scout team isn't a bad thing, right? Because it's also prepping you. In the event of an injury, coach knows that, hey, we seen what this kid was doing against the ones, at practice, so we already know that he's ready mentally. He's focused. He doesn't have any distractions, right? He's progressing and
Yep.
he's learning in the process while going up against the ones. I remember, when I was playing back then, the coach used to always tell the scout team, hey, listen, at any given moment, that one could be you. So you should be practicing every day like you're the one.
Well, it's crazy you say that because, Coach, at this time right now, Pitch, as you know, in college football, you can play 4 games and still be redshirted.
Yeah.
So as we get towards the tail end, we got some freshmen that we've liked the way they've been playing on scout team. So it's an opportunity now. Do we put them on kickoff? Do we put them on kickoff return? And are they going to give us what we need on kickoff return? Because I'm a firm believer in, if you can't get a guy to go hard on kickoff, go hard on punt, go hard on kick, if he ain't giving 100% on special teams, what is he going to give you when it's time to play offense and defense?
Absolutely.
He's not trying to execute what he's supposed to be doing on special teams. How's he going to execute what you need him to execute on offense and defense? So we got those windows right now where we got 3 games left. We got some freshmen that we want to take a look at and see what they can do and see if they can handle what they need to handle and get after it.
One of the other things we talked a lot about, this week, you said you guys started on offense. And, and some of the things that we often talk about is, starting fast, being physical and finishing. In regards to those 3, how, I know you said you started fast, you had you overcame some mental mistakes,
right,
to then still be victorious. So, even in victory, if in loss and victory, I always feel that there are learning moments, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
How do you build, or what do you look to build on from victory more, or from a loss more than a victory?
Well, when it comes to a victory, it's just good to watch those mistakes after a win. That's the best thing about it. But when it comes to a loss and you're trying to learn what's going on, you're talking about, again, it goes back to the little things. Where's your head placement? Where's your foot? Where's your foot placement? Why are you stepping with the wrong foot? You can't cross over as a linebacker and try to make that play downhill. You got to make sure you're shuffling, putting the weight on the inside balls of your feet so you can change directions. Are you taking a false step as a defensive lineman, getting reached early, and now are you giving up and playing the backside? Now the linebacker's trying to get over top. He's not getting over top. So those are the things you start looking at when you're losing a game. Where are those things going wrong at? Why do we not fit in the A gap with the defensive tackle like we're supposed to? Why are we not fitting the B gap? Why is that 3 technique getting reached? And if he does get reached, why isn't that linebacker over the top of that making him right? So all those things become extremely crucial. Now, when you won a game and those things are happening, hey, I'm going to still fix them, but we won. We got to make sure we're there. But when you lose a game and those things are happening, that's the reason you've lost the game, because those fits aren't there. You're not doing things you're supposed to do. You want to make sure they understand the importance of the little things.
What challenges does Wagner present coming in this?
The challenge we always face, they got a running quarterback. You know how we are against running quarterbacks, and the quarterback good. The young man does a good job. He makes good decisions. He takes what you give him. He's not trying to throw a whole lot of deep balls. If you give him a 5-yard out, he's going to take a 5-yard out. You give him a 10-yard dig, he's going to take a 10-yard dig. Real smart player. Probably one of the biggest running backs we've seen this year. My man's probably about 6'2", 235. You know, so that's another threat that they pose. And they got some solid tight ends. And their offensive lineman, their average is probably about 6'3", 6'4", about 290. You know, so they got a good size offensive line. But probably the guy that stands out is they got a defensive tackle. I can't think of his name, but I know he's number 3. My man's a beast. He is lighting people up. He's one of the shields on punt team. And they ran a fake to him. So to let you know how athletic he is and some of the stuff that he can do. And he's probably about 285 pounds. So my man moves extremely well. They got running backs, they got linebackers that run well, and they got some receivers that are real quick. So they pose a threat because they're coached well, and Coach Tom does a great job of coaching these guys. But that quarterback, he's posed as a threat more than anything else. He's a young man that can make you miss in space. We got to make sure we're bringing our feet, making tackles, and making some things happen.
And I was going to say, what are some ways that you can combat, or counter their strengths? Of course, defensively, making sound tackles, and then, offensively, making sure, helmet on helmet. We always used to say, everybody's helmet should be on the helmet, of the opposing team to combat the D tackles, progress or progression, I should say, as the backfield, so. For a pass rusher like that, is it more, maybe countered, or maybe some offset plays to try to, make his path to the ball carrier longer than it usually is? Or for a player like that, do you hope to take him out to play by running directly at him?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, that's kind of how we got to look at it. The good thing about last week, our O-line did a great job of moving bodies. Sean had like 128 yards. I think that's what he had. They did a great job of putting bodies on bodies and driving those guys to the second level and then picking up the second level guys. They did a great job of that. So we're looking to do some of that. But every now and then when you got a guy that good who can play who's playing that nose and playing that 3 technique extremely well, sometimes you got to block down on him and put a few more bodies on them, put 2 bodies on them and make sure we're getting where we need to be at and trying to get to the outside a little bit. So it's a combination of both, some of the things that we're going to do to try to get after these guys and kind of reassure that, again, we always got to go back to our running game, but we want to do what we do best. It's so crazy, man. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he told me, he used to work with the Dolphins. He said Don Shula had this saying, and he said, if you got red paint, paint the barn red. So what it boils down to is that simple. Let's do what you do well. Let's make sure we do it well and do a great job at it. So we want to make sure we get our running game going, but at the same time, we also want to make sure Zach is making great decisions when it comes to passes and things like that. So to answer your question, we're going to run at him, but we're also going to put him in a position where he's got to do a little bit of chasing also. Because like I said, the guy's one heck of an athlete.
Yeah, wear him down. And as you're going back to your analogy with the barn, why try to get creative away from the things that you're good at? Do what you're good at and then create off of those moments.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you and I talk about. What do they do best? Don't worry about what you know as a coach. You try to get all this knowledge. You try to do all these trick plays. What do they do best? And that's what we're going to do, especially on defense. When it comes down to the quarterback, the most important thing is making sure we have good leverage on him when he's running the ball, whether it's good inside leverage or good outside leverage, and making sure that we're bringing our feet when we go to tackle this guy. Like I said, the guy does a great job running their offense. He's a mastermind when it comes to running their offense. He does a real good job at it. So we got to make sure that we're solid where we're supposed to be at, getting enough depths on our drop, make sure we're breaking up on stuff underneath us and not trying to worry about stuff underneath us and letting him hit the ball behind us on the digs and stuff like that. So we got to give him what he wants. If he's going to take a 5-yard hitch, let him throw that 5-yard hitch. Let's make sure we're making a tackle with 5 yards and doing what we're supposed to do until he gets tired of doing that. But he's doing a good job of running the offense. And like I said, the guy makes good decisions.
Going back to an alumni player of yours, highlighting Rob Carter, man.
I heard my man Rob doing his thing.
Man, we thought Rob was making ESPN catches then. I mean, I think he's probably got about 3 or 4 of them, plus the kick or punt return from last week. Definitely doing his thing.
The good thing, I'm excited for him, man, too, because, everybody has that dream of playing in the NFL when they're playing this game. Everybody does have it, but he has an opportunity to play professional football over in the CFL, and he's taking full advantage of that, man. And I told him before he left, I said, understand, young man, you're getting an opportunity to do something that you've been doing since you were 8, and now they're going to pay you to do it. So take advantage of that as long as you can. So if you're going to play in the CFL for the next 10 years, go play in the CFL for the next 10 years. You'd love to get an opportunity to go to NFL. I'm sure he would want to do that, but at the same time, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Make sure you understand the importance of what you're doing, that you are doing a job and getting paid to do a job that you've enjoyed to do since you were 8 years old. So take advantage of it. That's what he's doing. I mean, like I said, he's made unbelievable catches, and now my man just returned one to the house on him. So Rob is doing his thing, man. I'm excited for him, but I'm also proud of what he's doing. He's taking advantage of the opportunity that he has, and he's having fun taking advantage of the opportunity that he has.
Hey, and something we was just talking about when it comes to scouting, opportunity.
Absolutely.
I would say all we need is one. All you need is one opportunity, to showcase your talents.
Yep. And the crazy thing is this: even when British Columbia offered him, pitch, he didn't have a great 40 time when he ran at Temple, and then he ran here. He didn't have a great 40 time for his size, because Rob's not a big guy. I think Rob is like 175, 180, something like that. He's not a big guy, but he's about 5'9". He's just got unbelievable football speed. It's one of those things. He got football speed. He's not a 40-time guy. I think he ran a 4.55 here. Then I didn't think that was fast enough. I think he ran something a little slower at Temple. But the thing I love about him, and when he was here last year, nobody was going to score an 80-yard run against us because Rob's going to get him. And he's doing the same thing right now in Canada. So he has unbelievable football speed. The guy plays extremely fast when he's on that field. Like I said, I'm extremely proud of the young man. And I know his dad is. I know Rob Carter Sr. is all excited. We're all pumped up about it.
And I was just talking to my son about the difference between, when you talk about track speed and football speed. Track speed is north-south, right? You're running in a straight line. Football speed,
yes.
You got to stop, go, accelerate. At the drop of a dime, at a cut. All of those different things that doesn't necessarily show up, when you're doing a 40-yard dash or a shuttle, or things of that nature. There are some guys on the football field like, man, he's quick. But then you put him on the track, he don't look that fast. I always tell individuals there is a distinct difference between football speed and track. Now, don't get me wrong. If you get a track guy who got some good, quick football speed and if they break away, just know you ain't never catching them.
Yep, my man Hill. I mean, Hill's a perfect example of that. But that's what probably about 2 weeks ago, my man Mike Irvin came on. He was kind of ticked off at some guy put his picture up talking about they don't have fast receivers like they had back then. They're talking about Dion wouldn't be who he is. And Mike's like, you guys are out of your mind. It ain't got nothing to do with it. It has to do with speed, but it doesn't have to do with speed. And guys don't understand what the game is all about. The game is also about running right routes. The game is also about taking proper angles. The game is also about a lot of other things. Again, like you and I said, speed. Tariq Hill shows you that speed means something. There's no ifs, ands, but Randy Moss shows you that speed means something. But also you got unbelievable receivers. I tell people all the time, Steve Largent was probably one of the best to ever do it, when it came to being a receiver, and he wasn't extremely fast. He made unbelievable routes. So understand the importance of route running, understand the importance of leverage, understand the importance of leaning when you need to lean, understand that those things are extremely important too. And when it comes to Rob, what Rob understands is angles. Rob understands the angles he has. He takes the proper angles to make the tackles he needs to do. And like I say, he does a great job, and I'm happy for the young man.
Well, listen, Coach, this is week, Wagner week. I look forward to being there. All I need is some Red Bulls. That's all I'm gonna need. I'm gonna just need a couple Red Bulls, and I'll be ready for Saturday on my ride up that morning.
I hear you, man. Hey, just let me know about the other thing we talked about too, and let me know if it's gonna be able to go down, and we can definitely make that happen. Just let me know what the situation is, and I'll handle that for you, man. But look, looking forward to this one, man. Like I said, we want to just make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do on that football field, playing as hard as we can, playing together as a team, starting fast, playing physical, and finish. And let's go, Bobby Moore.
Listen, man, the Colonials have knocked off their last two opponents. This week is Wagner, looking for the same results. Let's go. Fast, physical, finish. Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Pitts. It's your boy. It's Tiger. I don't even gotta refer to him as Coach. It's Tiger. It's all about him. That's Head Coach Bernard Clark Jr., man. Robert Morris University. The Colonials is going down. Tap in this Saturday. The show will be live from Coach's office. So y'all going to get a live preview right up close and personal, right from Robert Morris University out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you guys for tuning in.